all stay in a good health, stay safe, stay at home. I miss you all. We're gonna continue our session today about the life application of trigonometry angle. The life applications of trigonometry angle. Anything in math has a life application, but here in trigonometry angle we have two parts of life applications. The first one called angle of depression, the second one called angle of elevation. So the first one called angle of depression, the second one called angle of elevation. So we're gonna take each part separately to know what does that mean, but first we have to remember what is the meaning of trigonometry angle. The trigonometry angle is the relation between angles and sides. The relation between angles and sides. It must be a right angle triangle. It must be a right angle triangle like this one. So here is the opposite is a sine, cosine, tan. Sine, cosine, tan. Three relation of trigonometry angles. So the trigonometry angle consists of three parts: sine, cosine, tan. So here is the triangle we have A, B, and C. So the triangle must be a right angle triangle. So we have a right angle which is B. Okay, so sine is opposite over hypotenuse, but where is the opposite and where is the hypotenuse? Here is the hypotenuse, is the longest side of triangle. The longest side of triangle, which is AC. Why called hypotenuse side? Why it called hypotenuse side? Because it's opposite to a right angle triangle. Because it's opposite to a right angle triangle. So, and we have an angle x here. So any angle inside the triangle have two parts. The first one called opposite side, which is AB. AB here is opposite to the angle x, and CB is adjacent side for x. Adjacent means the side that next to the angle which we have. So CB is the adjacent side and the AB is the opposite side. So sine x means opposite over hypotenuse. So where is the opposite? Where is the hypotenuse? Opposite is AB and the hypotenuse is AC. The next one called cosine x. So adjacent over hypotenuse. So x is here and the adjacent side is CB and hypotenuse is AC. So CB over AC. Finally tan x. So tan is the opposite over adjacent. So here is x. X is the opposite and adjacent. So tan x is opposite over adjacent. So it's gonna equal AB over CB. So now you remember the meaning of sine, cosine, tan of the trigonometry angle. So the first thing we have about the life application of trigonometry angle is angle of elevation. Angle of elevation. So the meaning of angle of elevation, like imagine that you are walking in the street and you have to look to the top of tower or a building, a tall building or a tall tree. So you have two ways to look: the base of the tree, and the top of the tree or a building, whatever you have. So you're gonna look to the top of the building and you are walking down in the street. So you will make angle of elevation. Angle of elevation means when you are walking down in the street and you look to something high, so you make an angle of elevation. But here you are in the top of a tall building or a tall tower, and you look down to the street. You are in the top of the tower and you are looking down to the street. So you're gonna make um, angle of depression, angle of depression, angle of what? Depression. So here is the angle of elevation and we have here the angle of depression. So the measure of angle of elevation equals the same measure of angle of depression. Why? Because we have a parallel between the lines, a parallel between the lines, and we have here the condition, which is called alternate angle. So the measure of angle x equal measure of angle x. If the angle of depression equals 50, so the angle of elevation will equal also 50. So the first example, a 40-foot ladder is leaning against a building that is 12 feet tall. So this building is 12 feet and we have a ladder that leaning against to the building to the wall. So if the ladder is 40 foot, 40 foot. So we have the tall building and we have the leaning ladder. So where is right angle? Where is the right angle? Of course, here is the base of the building is the right angle. Why? Because any building on the world is perpendicular on the ground. So any building or any tower or anything built in, it must be straight. So the building will be perpendicular on the ground. So we have here the 90 degree. We have here the 90 degree. And we need now the elevation. What is the angle of elevation? So here is the angle of elevation, which is x. We have here the angle of elevation, which is x. So we have the opposite side of angle x. We have the opposite side of angle x. And the 40 here is the hypotenuse. Why? Because it's opposite to right angle. So we have the opposite side to x, which is 12, and the hypotenuse, which is equal 40. So if you have the opposite and you have the hypotenuse, so you're gonna use sine or cosine or tan. Of course sine. Why? Because sine is opposite over hypotenuse, opposite over hypotenuse. So 12 sine x will equal 12 over 40. 12 over 40. So you need to find the measure of angle x. So of course shift sine, which you have taken in the first week in quarter 3, shift sine of x. So shift sine 12 over 40. So angle x here will equal 17 degree, 27 minutes and 27 seconds. The second application, John wanted to measure the height of a tree. He walks exactly 100 feet from the base of the tree. So he walks 100 meters. He walked 100 meters from the base of the tree to which he stands. So the angle from the ground to the top of the tree, so we have the elevation angle. So here is John. Sorry for the drawing. Wait. Yes, here is John. John looked up to the top of the tree and he found the angle of elevation is 33 degrees. So the nearest he needs to find the height of the tree. So he needs this side. He needs this side. So we have an angle and we have the opposite side is unknown and we have the adjacent side is known. So we're gonna use what is the trigonometry angle that relate between the opposite and the adjacent. Of course it's a tan. tan is the opposite over adjacent, opposite over adjacent. So tan x or tan 33, which we have the angle, tan 33 will equal opposite side, which we don't know, over the adjacent side, which we know is equal 100. So by the multiplication cross. So the opposite side, which is x, equal tan 33 multiplied by 100. Tan 33 multiplied by 100. So x will equal 64 and 94 feet. So the next application, a building is 50 feet high. A building is 50 feet high. So this building is 50 feet high. So a distance away from the building, an observer notes that the angle of elevation on the top of the building is 41. So the observer here found the angle of elevation is 41. So how far is the observer from the base of the building? So he needs a distance between the building and the observer, which he stands right here. So I need to find this side. We need to find this side. So we have an angle here. We have the opposite and we don't have the adjacent side. So what is the trigonometry angle that relate between the opposite and the adjacent side? So of course it's tan. So tan 41 will equal the opposite, which is 50, the opposite, which is 50, over the adjacent side, which we don't know the adjacent side. So by multiplication cross. So 41 multiply x, so it's gonna be in denominator, and 50 multiply 1. So 50 over tan 41, so x will equal 57.5 feet. To the next application. An airplane is flying a height of 2 miles above the ground. The distance along the ground from the airplane to the airport is 5 miles. So the distance between the ground of the plane and the airport is 5 miles. And the airplane is flying a height 2 miles. So the height here of the plane and the ground to the ground is 2 miles. And the distance between the ground and the airport is 5 miles. So what is the angle of depression from the airplane to the airport, and round your answer to the nearest tenth of degree? So he needs a depression angle, but we don't know how we're gonna find the depression angle. But we have a parallel line between this line of the plane and the down line of the airport, and we have the alternate angle. We have the position of alternate angle. So the measure of depression angle will equal the same measure of elevation angle. So I'm gonna leave the depression angle right now, and I'm gonna deal with the elevation angle, which is inside the angle or inside the triangle. So we have the right angle is here. So if I need to find the measure of this angle, which is x, so we have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. So what is the trigonometry angle which relate between the opposite and the adjacent side? So of course it's gonna be tan. So tan x equals the opposite, which is equal to, over the hypotenuse, which is equal 5. So tan x equal 2 over 5. So x will equal tan, which is shift tan on the calculator, of 2 over 5. So x will equal 21 degree 48 minutes and 5 seconds. So now the elevation angle equal 21 degree 48 minutes and 5 seconds. So the depression angle will equal another measure of the angle. Of course it will equal the same measure of elevation, if the elevation angle equals 21 degree 48 minutes and 5 seconds, so the depression angle also will equal 21 degree 48 minutes and 5 seconds, because the measure of depression angle equals the same measure of elevation angle. Thank you for all for listening, and I hope you all stay in a good health.